Greetings, name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. This is the girl Jen Jen, Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. And if you want to get formal, this is Miss Jennifer Frederick. Another edition of We Talk D Ting. People, today is Monday, another week. Friday, I didn't have a live, I had a rerun. So I hope you all enjoyed it. But today we live inside. So we just have an order here. So we started. I hope now all my Facebook people are on. We had some technical difficulties and forgot to link with Facebook, so that is why you all didn't see the live. I think it was on Wednesday. I hope everything is in order today. So let me start eating right, all my Facebook people, all the YouTube people. Let me talk eating family, bounce up family. Let me start. For the pledge.
I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of my God and my country. I will honor my parents, my teachers, my leaders, and my elders, and those in authority. I will be clean and honest in all my thoughts, my words, and my deeds. I will strive in everything I do to work together with my fellow men of every creed and race for the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of my country.
So people, let us start one time, no time to stick. This is how we just do it. So let me see if I have it here. And this is, let me see if it's on the board. So I saw that Tuco president engages diaspora during official visit to Toronto for Caribana 2025. And it says here the president of the Trinbago Unified Calypsonian Association, Tuco, Mr. Ainsley King,
I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life.
Sorry about it. I saw it as these things are so sensitive. I just rest my hand there by mistake. I touched back the pledge again. So sorry about that. So as I was saying, the president of Trinbago Unified Calypsonian Association, TUCO, Mr. Ainsley King, is currently in Toronto, Canada, where he's attending the Caribana Festival, a flagship celebration of Caribbean culture. During his visit, Mr. King met with Simon Young, Consul General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago in Toronto, along with other officials to discuss opportunities for cultural collaboration and strengthening ties between Trinidad and Tobago and the diaspora community. Also in attendance is Mrs. Beverly Ramsey Moore, President of Pan Trinbago, as both interest groups continue to foster engagements with Calypso and Pan organizations based in Canada. TUCO remains committed to expanding the reach of our national art form and deepening cultural connections with our global community. Stay tuned for further development. So that happened there with Tuco and also Pancho. I listened, I did not go to the emancipation celebration, but I listened to it. And when they sang the anthem at the Savannah, I was surprised that I didn't hear pan. I was surprised I didn't hear the pan music, even if there was somebody singing the anthem. I was surprised I didn't hear the pan, you didn't hear drums, you hear nothing, just singing. That's just me. I think emancipation, that the steel pan has become the national instrument, or is the national instrument of Trinidad and Tobago, and something like emancipation, that become coming out of enslavement. That was a cultural expression of the enslaved and the ancestors, the creation of the steel pan. So now that we have it as the national instrument of Trinidad and Tobago, it is recognized all over the world. United Nations has committed to April the 11th, I think it is, a World Steel Pan Day. And to me, at the emancipation celebration, when the anthem was being sung, me hear no pan. But that is just me. I'm seeing here, excuse me, that the state is to pay, this was in the Guardian 2 days ago, state to pay Kublai Singh 0.4 million for demolition of protest camp by the army. We all remember when he was protesting the whole highway, and Jack Warner, I think, was the Minister of National Security at the time, when they went there with army, all kinds of things, and mash up Peter. You know, it's poetic justice that is the same government who would have tore down the tent back in 2011, 12, anywhere around there. It's the same government now had to come to pay. But here was the hard part. It's taxpayers' money, is not their money. So it says here, excuse me, the Court of Appeal has ruled that the state acted unlawfully when it deployed the defense force to demolish a protest group erected by Dr. Wayne Kublai Singh and the Highway Reroute Movement, HRM, in 2012. The judgment delivered by Justice of Appeal Peter Rajkumar affirmed that the state violated the constitutional rights of the protesters and must pay damages. In a 70-page ruling, the court declared the actions of the then Minister of National Security in requisitioning and or deploying the defense force for the purpose of forcibly removing the occupants of the protest camp and demolishing it were unlawful, contrary to the rule of law, and contravene the respondent's right under Section 4B of the Constitution to the protection of the law. It added the demolition of the protest camp was unlawful and also contravened the respondent's rights under Section 4A of the Constitution. The state was ordered to pay $350,000 in constitutional damages, included vindicatory damages, plus $50,000 to Kublai Singh for assault and battery, and $15,000 to another protester for assault. While the state previously succeeded in the High Court in securing a declaration that the protest unlawfully interfered with public works at Mount Desir and a permanent injunction barring Kublai Singh and others from returning, the Court of Appeal found that the manner of the camp removal was unconstitutional. The court also rejected findings by the trial judge that the protesters' broader rights to freedom of expression, conscience, and associations were infringed by the demolition. To the extent that the trial judge found that there was a breach to the rights to freedom of expression, he clearly erred. The court said the existence of the protest camp was not integral to the exercise of those rights. It concluded that any incidental breach of freedom of association was not sufficient to warrant additional constitutional declaration. The court upheld the trial judge's conclusion that the use of military force in a civilian matter breached constitutional protection. The involvement of the army was contrary to the rule of law and due process of law, the judgment stated. It also dismissed a key part of the respondent's claim, alleging a breach of legitimate expectation based on promises to hold the highway works pending consultation. The court ruled there was no clear or ambiguous representation by the state, and thus no basis for such a claim. So there's some winning. So Dr. Wayne Kublal Singh and the protests and the camp he had built in protesting against the piece of the highway Montezero. Yeah. I'm also seeing here Jereme Charles, the Dream. He cruises, so this was 21 hours ago. Easy senior champ 200 wins for TNT track star. So they said Jereme, this was in the Express. Jereme the Dream Richards grabbed NAATT/NGC National Senior Championship Men's 200-meter gold at the Hazy Crawford Stadium, Port of Spain, yesterday with a dominant performance. Richards ran an aggressive bend to turn the half-lap final into a one-man race. Turning for home well in front of his rivals, the Albine Wildcat sprinter motored to the line for the easiest of victories. Richard clocked 20.21 seconds, while silver medalist Elijah Joseph got home in 20.69 seconds. Teenager Dashawn Cole secured bronze in 21:03. Richards looked over at the clock as he crossed the line, expecting to see 19. Time was important. The Trinidad and Tobago track star told Express, I've been working hard this year and having a really good season for most part. I was in what we would call the zip code of the times I should be running and had only had really good practices leading up to this. So I expected something really fast. That 20.21 is not exactly where I thought I would have been, but still a solid time. So congratulations there to the Dream and all those who would have won at the Hazy Crawford Stadium. I'm also seeing this little tidbit here. I say I needs to read it. This was in the news day. It was yesterday, and it says, as wealth increases locally, let me read that again. As wealth increases locally, EU phases down operation in Trinidad and Tobago. I said, so let me read it. After years of granting project funding, the delegation of the European Union, EU, to Trinidad and Tobago is now transitioning away from direct development funding locally. But outgoing ambassador extraordinary and potential penitentiary Peter Cavendish assures the relationship remains valued and important. The EU gradual withdrawal from direct development funding is not a result of fractured diplomacy or lack of interest. Instead, it reflects a shift in global economic standings and priorities. Your country has progressed a lot economically. The wealth per head is quite high, and it's almost as rich as some European countries like Bulgaria, Cavendish said. The move follows TNT 2007 classification by the World Bank as a high-income country, making it generally ineligible for loans with below market interest rates. Similarly, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, has ranked Trinidad and Tobago near the levels of some EU member states and aspirants. So we will not have dedicated development funds for this office in the future as we had in the past. But the country will still be in good position to draw down regional development funds, which is managed from Barbados. At the time of the classification, there were already economic plans in place, so Trinidad and Tobago continued to receive aid. The phase down was not an automatic condition, but part of the decision-making process and has been incremental. The EU also has already reduced staff at its Port of Spain delegation from 5 to 3, with another expatriate set to leave on September 2026. There's no formal decision in my hands, but the posts of the last two local agents will probably go in September 2026 as well. So we are losing all expatriates, people, for international partnership, which historically was 5 people. Ultimately, we don't know what will happen. We don't have a final decision on local staff. We have to take matters into consideration. But the new combination of delegations from countries such as this may be 6 staff. They will always want to have an ambassador, political officer, and some administration, someone for press and a driver, or some combination like that. Let me go back to the top. This is the part I want to read because I want to ask Alllyuh do that for. What Alllyuh vote out PNM for? This is what they say. The EU is saying that after years of granting project funding, that the EU is now transitioning away from direct development funding in Trinidad. They said the EU gradual withdrawal from direct development funding is not a result of fractured diplomacy or lack of interest. Instead, it reflects a shift in global economic standards and priorities. Your country, Trinidad and Tobago, has progressed a lot economically. The wealth per head is quite high, and it's almost as rich as some European countries like Bulgaria. All you hear that? That didn't happen because of UNC, you know. That didn't happen because of UNC policies, you know. That happened because of the Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley and the PNM policies the last 9 years. They asked what the PNM was doing. These are some of the things that the PNM was doing. That the EU was saying, hey, we don't need to fund all that again, really, you know, because all they have reached a point where things good, you know. Economically, all they're good, you know, and all the wealth per head, meaning each person is on par, almost on par with Bulgaria. You remember I was saying we're suffering? That is not what the EU say here. The EU say we had it nice. We have it nice. And it has nothing to do with the UNC government that came in just 3 months ago. Nothing. It has to do all with Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley and his stewardship of this country and the People's National Movement. What do they do that for? Let me continue. What do they really do that for? What do they do that for? So I see that America has annexed 5% on tariffs, so now we have 15% tariff. I see the Minister of Trade and Tourism and all that he's saying is a good thing. I don't know what he's saying. He's not into finances. He see that as a good thing. I want to ask with all due respect. I hope you understand this is not Sasha Cosmetics. This is a country. I just asked, can I? I'm not being disrespectful. Because I'm seeing here, the business chamber is saying there is an alarm at the 15% tariff. So let me read what I'm saying. This was August the 2nd, 2025 in the Daily Express. South and Central Business Chamber have raised an alarm following US President Donald Trump's decision to impose a 15% tariff on all imports originating from Trinidad and Tobago. In the increase on the tariff rate, which rose from 10% in April, will come into effect on August the 7th. Trinidad and Tobago is one of the several countries that will see increased tariff rates. Responding to the Express yesterday via WhatsApp, head of the Chaguanas Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Baldat Maharaj, said the tariff increase threatens to destabilize critical trade relationships with the United States. Well, apparently the new Minister of Trade, all I need to talk to him because he's seeing something different. Again, I'm asking with all due respect, sir. Do you think that this is Sasha Cosmetics you're talking about, sir? This is Trinidad and Tobago. And if the chambers and businessmen and women saying the alarm by the increase in the tariffs, I don't know how you could say it's a good thing. I don't get it. But then again, when you're in UNC, it has something called Kamlamatics. I don't know. I don't know. So let me continue, right? According to Maharaj, the US is the nation's highest or the nation's largest trading partner, particularly within non-energy exports, including the manufacturing, agro-processing, and food and beverage sector. A 15% tariff drastically alters the competitive landscape of our exporters, many of whom are already working with tight margins, high input costs, and global supply chains volatility. The imposition of this tariff places local goods at an immediate disadvantage in the US market. Our manufacturers, many of whom have spent years cultivating trade partnerships, building export capabilities, and adhering to stringent quality standards, now face the prospect of losing market share to competitors from countries unaffected by similar duties, he said. He also argued that small and medium businesses, like SMEs, could suffer significantly. For SMEs in particular, which forms the backbone of our industrial base, this policy shift could result in slow growth, reduced foreign exchange earnings, and job losses if urgent remedial actions is not taken. He continued. Maharaj added that the increased tariffs signal a broader challenge for small and vulnerable economies like ours and maintaining access to international markets amidst rising protectionist trends. He calls on the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs to treat this matter with highest level of urgency. We urge the government of Trinidad and Tobago to indicate or to initiate immediate and constructive dialogue with their US counterparts to determine the underlying reasons for this decision and to pursue every available diplomatic and trade avenue to either reverse the tariff or reduce its impact through negotiated exemptions or phased implementation, he said. Just reading one more paragraph because, again, I want to call on the Trade and Industry Minister because he's saying, I read that thing he's saying is a good thing. I don't know, Papa. Urging the business community to practice greater trade resilience, he said, we strongly encourage the national business community to reassess their export strategies, explore new markets, and strengthen intra-regional trade within CARICOM and Latin America. We must also consider working collectively as a region to improve our negotiating power, build trade alliances, and create mechanisms such as joint export promotion or regionally supply chains to reduce dependency on any single market. So the chambers and them saying one thing, the Minister of Trade and Industry, he's saying something else. I know if you have to get a new trade market, no, you have to do certain things. It's not like you could just go and sell your stuff in Brazil, sell your stuff, they had to do links and all that. While you're doing all that, anything had to go on. I don't know, Papa. That must be business people. Then after I come and I see this, I'm not saying it have anything to do with what I just read, but I just see this. For everybody know L.J. Williams Limited. That is a household name. Since you're small, you know about L.J. Williams, right? So I'm seeing here in The Guardian, this was yesterday, L.J. Williams downsizes to drive profits. Under the ownership of L.J. Williams Limited, the house store is undergoing a significant transformation designed to reestablish its commercial viability and reposition the business in a rapidly shifting retail landscape, like a 15%. The restructuring set to culminate by fiscal year 2026 marks a moment of recalibration and the brand, where do you think going? And the brand adapts as the brand adapts to changes in consumer behavior and microeconomic pressures. Central to this plan was the closure of 3 retail branches, C3 Center in San Fernando, the Falls at West Mall in Westmoreland, and Eastgate Mall in Trin City between December 2024 and April 2025. While such closures could signal contractions, in this case, they perhaps present a pivot towards operational efficiency as outlined in its 2025 annual report, which was posted on the TNT Stock Exchange. As reported in our third quarter, the home store continued to face declining sales and stagnating markets post-COVID-19 period. Accordingly, the board took the decision to restructure the home store retail business. We closed 3 stores FY 2025. See, well, I read that already, C3, the Falls, and the Eastgates. So I'm saying all this, I ain't reading anymore really, but what I'm saying is this. If L.J. Williams downsized. Even before they were hit with the 15% tariff, they downsized because of macroeconomic trends and pressures and all that. What will happen now? But the Minister of Trade and Industry, he seems to find that that is something good. I don't know. We will see. We will see. But you know, I want to say, I thought the Prime Minister Kamala Prasad, the Sessa and them, they have so much faith in the Donald Trump's administration. I'm surprised they dropped the tariff. I'm very surprised that they increased tariff instead. Like they ain't so good. I just asked them, Papa, you. Let me continue. This one make me just say, I just say, I just say, Listen to this. Hey, now I ask only what only do that for? All you really vote for UNC for? This was in Market Reports, August the 1st, 2025. Orlando in talks to finalize Trinidad and Tobago refinery lease. August the 1st, eh? Orlando, a Nigerian energy group, is engaging in key government and regulatory stakeholders in Trinidad and Tobago to finalize the lease structure and operational framework for the Caribbean nation 108-year-old Caracara refinery, which has been sitting idle since 2018. Its subsidiary, Orlando Trading Division, was selected earlier this year as the preferred bidder for the lease of the Caracara refinery, with the company saying the development marks a significant step in its entry into the Caribbean downstream market. In July 2025, the newly appointed government reaffirms Orlando's preferred bidder status, initiated a process to advance discussions on the refinery start. The company said on Friday in its earnings release, engagement with key government and regulatory stakeholders are ongoing to finalize the lease structure and operational framework. No, that can't be true. That can't be true. Kamla Pesabi says and them say Wando corrupt. They said there's a corrupt company that Dr. Keith Christopher run the PNM engaging in, and they will not honor anything. That's not what I say, asking earlier. They will not honor no deal or whatever it is Wando. That is not true. Asking earlier. That ain't true. So now the UNC going to be finalizing the list with Orlando. I thought they had a committee to look into see if local people or some kind of bacchanal so could run the refinery. What the hell are you in here? Roger, call him Roger. What? Everything the People's National Movement leave in place, the UNC running with it like if it's them do it. Every single thing is what PNM put in place. All already vote UNC for. Yeah? Look, they're going right back to Orlando. It's not me who says so. I thought it was Roger and them. Oh, God, let me continue. Yes? Let me continue. You see me? Let me continue. This is something that happened a couple of days ago, but it piqued my interest, and because I didn't have a show on Friday, I did nothing. It is a story about one Hanif Benjamin. Take a listen. He was the go-to man, anything with children and children trauma and all that. He was the man they go to. I used to say, don't have anybody else to speak on children trauma, anything relating to children. I used to always say that to myself. I said, well, okay, he must be the only one in this country. But we come and hear this again. These are allegations. I'm not saying the gentleman is guilty. Everybody is innocent until a judge and jury or judge alone declare otherwise. Okay? This is just news that audio. Listen to this.
Director within the Social Protection Department of the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, former chairman of the Children's Authority, Hanif Benjamin, has been granted $170,000 bail following his court appearance earlier today. The 47-year-old trauma specialist is facing 2 charges under the Children's Act: sexual communication with a child and engaging in sexual activity in the presence of a child. The charges stem from an incident earlier this month involving a phone or video call during which a child was allegedly shown his private parts. He appeared before Master Delicia Bathalmi, represented by attorneys Ajish Sumasa and Andre Cole. As part of his bail conditions, Benjamin must surrender his passport, avoid all contact with the alleged victim and witnesses, and report to his nearest police station. The matter was adjourned to January 16th. In response, the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection confirmed it is aware of the serious allegations and emphasized that it upholds a zero-tolerance policy for misconduct.
Right, let me play another one because this is serious thing.
Meanwhile, the People's National Movement Tobago Council is demanding the immediate dismissal of Hanif Benjamin, Director of Social Protection within the Tobago House of Assembly, following his recent charge with 2 sexual offences involving a minor and under the Children's Act. In a strongly worded statement issued yesterday, the PNM criticized what it described as the THA's vague response to the serious allegations and accused the administration of appointing Benjamin without a formal, transparent, or merit-based process. The council said Benjamin's continued employment in a sensitive high-level role is, quote, dangerous and disrespectful, end quote, to Tobagonians, particularly its vulnerable populations. The PNM is also calling for a public explanation from Chief Secretary Fali Augustine on the hiring process used and is demanding the implementation of stricter hiring protocols for senior THA positions, especially those involving the care of children. They warned that the situation represents a failure in basic governance and a threat to public trust in the island's social services.
People, that is that there. I saw somebody was trying to link a former Minister of Child Development, or was it the Office of the Prime Minister? Should have been Minister Ayana Webster Roy from Tobago, trying to blame the woman and say she and say all kind of, listen to me, some people has jumped, the leap in thought is very incredulous, you know. And like he's stalking the woman, only sending the woman all kind of message and she inbox all kind of thing. And when she said she's going to report it, like he drained she or some kind of thing. So she put out, Mrs. Webster Roy would have put out this statement and it would have said, let's be real. Mr. Benjamin was charged for actions committed long after our professional ties had ended. Thanks to the courage of a young boy and his mother, we all now know that an alleged predator has long been the nation's go-to on all things trauma and child-related. Yes, I said national go-to, because it's the same Mr. Benjamin that many in the media and the general public often use to highlight my perceived failures in improving the child care and protection system. Now, some keyboard warriors are attempting to hold me responsible for Mr. Benjamin's action in 2025. Absolutely not. I will not be anyone's scapegoat. If there were people who knew of his past, the real question is, why was nothing said at the time of his appointment years ago? Please spare me the performative outrage. Every allegations regarding any officer or institution that came to my attention during my tenure was met with decisive action, whether through investigations, policy reform, disciplinary measures, or even the closure of facilities. My former personal assistants could share those stories of me playing Nancy Drew and having clandestine meetings with strangers, all in an attempt to clean up the mess at one facility. I carry no one's guilt. I wear no one's else shame. My record speaks for itself. I reiterate, child protection is everybody's business. So that there was former Minister of Child Development, Minister Webster Roy, now just Citizen Minister, Citizen Mrs. Ayanna Webster Roy. So, anyway, let me leave that right there. Let the man have his time in court, and let me see where come at that. But if people didn't know he had them behaviors, if he had them behaviors, when they did hire him, they should have talked about all them things first. Yeah, don't talk about nothing that nobody did know and who did know and should. Don't talk them thing when the horse don't leave this table. Talk about it first. In the absence of all your hush, all your backside, let the court have its day, and let the man have his day, and let the child and the mother have the day in court. Let me continue. Hey, children who are so affected and traumatized should not have to go through that type of trauma again by nobody who is in charge of anything, who they see as a mentor or as an elder or somebody in authority. And I didn't say the man do anything. I'm just saying, no child. Because children who go to the child protection unit and those things are children who have trauma and whatever physical, mental, emotional issue they're going through because of abuse, whether sexual, physical, or verbal. And to go into these spaces and have people who are the ones who have to counsel and guide and authority and have them do things to you too. Listen, it shatters a child's trust and has so much implication for them when they get older. Again, this is a general statement. So I'm seeing again the Minister of Trade and Industry, all in the African clothing, the nice top, you look nice. That is Senator Satyakama Maharaj. As he delivered, the second picture, he was delivering remarks at the 23rd Annual Transatlantic Trade and Investment Symposium as part of the annual Emancipation Day celebration at the Queen's Park Savannah in Port of Spain. That was Thursday. This is in the Guardian. Ghana has extended an invitation to Trinidad and Tobago to undertake a trade mission to the West African state. In a news release, the Ministry of Trade, where the whole thing going? In a news release, the Ministry of Trade, Investment and Tourism said the invitation was extended by the Ghanaian minister in charge of special initiatives in the office of the President of Ghana, Emmanuel Kwadwo Yekum, during a courtesy call on Senator Satyakama Maharaj, Minister of Trade, Investment and Tourism at the ministry's headquarters in Nicholas Tower. The ministry said the mission could be a pivotal engagement that could serve to further strengthen the trade and investment relationship between the two nations. Minister Maharaj also was invited to lead the trade mission. The meeting occurred after Maharaj delivered opening remarks at the 23rd Annual Transatlantic Trade and Investment Symposium at the Wasu Omawale Emancipation Village, Queen's Park, Savannah, Port of Spain, Thursday. During the meeting, discussions focused on enhancing bilateral trade and investment relations, while also exploring new avenues for cooperation and mutually beneficial partnership. Minister Maharaj indicated a desire to strengthen the trade network across the global south and cement Trinidad and Tobago's position at the epicenter. In this context, why this person only sending one set of message to my phone, boy? Sorry about that. Let me continue. You send one, you send two, and respond, know that I'm doing something. I kind of distracted when that happens. And I forgot to take off notifications, so it's my fault. Ooh, never go again. In this context, he expressed interest in commencing formal discussions towards the establishment of a preferential trade agreement between Trinidad and Tobago and the Economic Community of West African States, the ECOWAS with ECOWAS, I pronounce it so. He described West Africa as a natural and strategic partner. He noted that the region's growing consumer base, dynamic digital transformation, and youthful entrepreneurial energy creates fertile grounds for mutually beneficial trade and investment. The minister said this presents a once in a generation opportunity for Caribbean exporters and investors. For Trinidad and Tobago, the implications are clear. The African continent is rising and we must engage with it deliberately and strategically, said Maharaj. I'm leaving it right there, right? The way I'm talking is as if that wasn't happening all the time. I want to play this for you because I tell all you again, everything the UNC is piggybacking on is what the PNM do. I to tell all you that, you know. To all the PNM put down track for Booty to run. I asked all who all want to answer the phone April 29th, whether or not the camera Pasabis or Stuart Richard Young SC. Was the Prime Minister. Apparently, all they wanted Kamala. Them like they come and they don't have a clue, they don't have an idea, nothing, because everything the PNM do, with them they saying is corrupt and it's bad and how the people suffering and people hungry and they don't know how to manage, is them doing the same thing they pick up where the PNM left off. So what that's about? So listen to this. I want every minister, with all due respect, the Minister of Trade and Industry and whatever the ministry is called, if he's aware of this, I just want to ask.
The imminent finalization of a gas deal between Trinidad and Tobago and Ghana were among the topics discussed when Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley met with President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, at the office of the President, Jubilee House in Accra, Ghana, on Friday. Both leaders also expressed a desire to harmonize efforts between CARICOM and the African Union with respect to the growing calls for reparations for the injustices committed against Africans and people of African descent through the transatlantic enslavement. Prime Minister Rowley emphasized the need for the completion of the negotiations of the bilateral air services agreement between the two nations, as Ghana serves as a gateway to West Africa for Trinidad and Tobago. Mrs. Sharon Rowley accompanied the Prime Minister to the courtesy call. Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Dr. Amory Brown, also joined the Prime Minister at the courtesy call. Prime Minister Rowley and Mrs. Rowley also joined the Ghanaian President and His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the Asante Hene, at the commissioning of the ceremony for the international airport in Kumasi.
The way them getting on, like no talks wasn't happening with Ghana and Trinidad and Tobago and nothing. Listen to this one too. Listen to this one.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley delivered remarks today at Ghana's 63rd Independence Day celebration at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. Dr. Rowley was the special guest of honor at this year's event. Dr. Rowley noted with over 53 years of diplomatic relations between Trinidad and Tobago and Ghana, the two major aspects of their shared cooperation remain in the agriculture sector and in the energy sector.
The importance of agriculture in the development of a country cannot be overstated, as it provides the most basic and essential form of security for society. Trinidad and Tobago and Ghana are producers of cocoa, and cooperation in this area between our countries dates back to our colonial past. The objectives of this initiative for Trinidad and Tobago were to provide assistance to the countries of West, Central and South Africa in developing their energy sectors.
Dr. Rowley said that Trinidad and Tobago has always had an African identity.
So the way they're talking, you believe them is the one just come in office and start to make all them links with Ghana. The links was already there. Things were already in place. Listen to this report. Passage to Africa. Trinidad and Tobago, Nigeria signs agreement for direct flights. This happened on April 15, 2025. Who was in office April 15, 2025? Was the People's National Movement, wasn't it? Just asking a question, and this is what it said. After 23 years in the making, direct passenger and cargo flights between the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Trinidad and Tobago should begin soon. So said Minister of Works and Transport, Ruan Sinanan, and Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Fetus Kiyamo, who signed a bilateral air service agreement to allow direct travel on the air bridge at the VIP lounge at the Piaco International Airport yesterday. Also in attendance were Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Dr. Amy Brown, Minister in the Ministry of Works and Transport, Richie Sukai, former chairman of the Standing Negotiation Committee on Air Services Agreement, Anthony Vieira. The agreement was in the making for 23 years and is the first of its kind to take place between Trinidad and Tobago and an African country, according to Sinanan. He added, these agreements take long. We have some arrangements. We have some agreements that took 30 years because once you have a government change, you have policy change. So what may be a priority for one government may not be a priority for the other. The government of Trinidad and Tobago, we are, as the government of Trinidad and Tobago, we are very serious about the aviation sector because our geographic location allows us to capitalize on the aviation sector and also the maritime sector. He emphasized that this agreement, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago will be afforded the opportunity to travel to a destination that does not have travel restrictions. Sinanan said the government of Trinidad and Tobago has also signaled similar agreement with Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and the Netherlands, and added that plans were in motion for the signing of 15 additional air service agreements over the next few years. So you could use Trinidad as a hub, you could use Nigeria as a hub, and the gateway of the world is open, he added. Speaking of the signing events, Kiyamo said, we are going to work very hard on our part to set the deadlines to begin the route, and we encourage you, Trinidad and Tobago, to work very hard to set your deadlines. He added, after the signing ceremony, it's going to be action after signing. We are going to look back and see the airlines that have the capacity to start on this route immediately. We all are due to go back home and start this route immediately. He said that Nigeria is also willing to accommodate Trinidad and Tobago in any endeavor it wishes to engage in with Africa beyond the air bridge. The signing ceremony lasted about 5 minutes, and following that, Kiyamo and his delegation of about 5 people from Nigeria were treated to Trinidad and Tobago popular street food doubles. He was then given a quick tour to the airport command center by Sinanan, Brown, and other senior airport officials, where he discussed the creation of an advanced passenger information system, APIS. He pointed out that Nigeria has adopted APIS along with many other countries around the world and advised, you, Trinidad and Tobago, have to get to the point now where before the flight arrives, you know every single person on that profile of every single person. So you have to be connected to some kind of international portal or something, as they say, boarding in any part of the world before they head here to Trinidad and Tobago. All your immigration officers, they know exactly who's on that flight. So those who you need to flag, you flag them immediately. Its APIS also keeps your border safe and your country safe and more secure. At the end of the tour, Kiyamo and his delegation immediately flew out of the country as he with the whole thing going, as he had other obligations to fulfill in the Middle East. So people, I'm saying again, all these things were there in place, trade in Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, it was happening. So this new minister, the new senator, he's not doing nothing new. The road has been paved already, so UNC cannot take this as no achievement of the UNC. That's a PNM achievement. So I'll already do that for, again, I ask all about UNC. And while I'm on, people share the live on Facebook. And those on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, bounce up channel, subscribe to the channel so that you'll know when We Talk D Ting start and all other programs that are here. What do they do that for? Listen to this one. Listen to this one. Belize to adopt Revenue Authority. 2 days ago in The Guardian, the Director General of the Belize Tax Services, BTS, Misha Longsworth, has defended the decision to become a semi-autonomous revenue known as SARA. The transition will occur in December, and the Public Service, PSU, says it is not convinced that the move will not affect its members, particularly as it relates to pension gratuities and allowances that workers have earned over the years. Under the new initiative, current employees will either be reassigned within the public sector or have to apply for a position in the new system. As public officers, if you resign from the public service right now, you know what your entitlements are. If you have served 10 years, you are entitled to a gratuity. If you have served 15 years and more, you are entitled to a gratuity and a pension that remains intact. Longsworth said in an interview with the Greater Belize Media Television Network. She told viewers that nobody will lose if they choose to go over to the SARA. We had TTRA. Noting that currently, if you choose to take early retirement, you receive all your benefits. If you are over 50 years, that does not change, and every staff member of our public officers, they know how we are governed under the public service regulation, and that does not change. She said that the discussions are taking place with the Ministry of Finance regarding workers who are basically starting from scratch to build up their benefits again. So this is a discussion that we are having with the Ministry of Finance, and we are speaking to only persons who have, let's say, 5 years or 9 years and 11 months. Those persons who have reached almost 10 years. Those persons who have almost reached 10 years. Okay, those are the persons we have to list. We have a list of them. We have determined that it would cost or maybe offer them a compensation package. But this is in discussion with the Ministry of Finance. And once we have some approval, or we will then take that to the staff who are in the category, because there's only a small amount in that category. The point I'm making is Belize having their own tax collection revenue, and all the public officers got different options, and they're taking it to them and they're treating it as a secret. But in Trinidad and Tobago, the PSA claim to fame, I come into PSA just now, claim to fame is that they stopped the TTRA and they stopped the restructuring of WASA. That's the claim to fame, nothing else. Another country smaller than we own, I suspect, they realize the importance of collecting taxes. Not Trinidad and Tobago under the UNC, don't collect no taxes, don't collect nothing, just give and give and give, and we don't have to give. And just now you might have to borrow. Let me continue, yes, Papa. No. I may have to play back something, but I want to just read this. Just read it. Let me show you the picture first, because I think, director didn't get time to put up the picture for me. That's okay. That's okay. Some of you all are already don't want to see it. So this was in the Daily Express, August the 2nd. Kamala commits to reparation plan. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar has unveiled an action plan aimed at deepening cultural recognition, economic empowerment, and reparatory justice for the descendants of enslaved people. Yeah, I should have some salt to fling so. Delivering the fetal address at a well-attended African Emancipation Day celebration at the Letsu Yasu Omawale Emancipation Village, Queen's Park, Savannah, Port of Spain yesterday, Pasabi Sessa praised the Emancipation Support Committee at Trinidad and Tobago for its local, regional, and global trailblazing work. And that's why it does know that these people line, in my opinion. Then Michelle Benjamin, who is the Minister of Community Development and something, she then good blast out the Emancipation Committee and say something to the effect that they didn't get all that kind of money because like they didn't do nothing with it and whatever. They just in our back and I with them. Who would have given Michelle Benjamin, the minister, that authority to say that? She didn't get up and she won and say it. Somebody may have told her to say that. I just said. Here the mama, all mama guy, in my opinion. Let me say it again. Pasabi Sessa praised the Emancipation Support Committee at Trinidad and Tobago for its local, regional, and global trailblazing work. Kafra Kamban, or they could take that and feel good about that. I've done promise already, me and calling you Kafra Kamban, I call you Dave Diabo. I did say that. I don't care if you find that disrespectful because with the situation, something it has to do with some situation, you know. I can't remember if it's the slave master name thing or if it's the Oreo calling Dr. Rowley, if it's the trend where they here in Kano where they didn't allow them to graduate or some one of them thing. I promise I calling you Dave Diabo. I promise that. Let me keep that promise. To another committee's contribution, and why? Because the Emancipation Committee, let me rephrase it. Kafra Kambon, I didn't hear you come out and say nothing. Let me start again. So another committee's contribution, she announced that the government will direct its relevant ministries to partner with the ESCTT on a focused 4-point action plan to engender one, cultural guardianship, expanding grants for drumming schools, mass comm, heritage, archives, and digital storytelling labs. Only go wait on that. Curriculum 2, curriculum restoration. And if it happens, you're going to hear the Hindu community coming out and say, this is my opinion, my opinion, that what about them too? I just saying, I don't know, you might hear for, or could it be all this talk here so that when Diwali come now and they roll out all kind of things, people of African descent can't say nothing because they will say, look what they promised only. I just asking a question, Okay. In my opinion, everything the UNC and Kamala and them do, it have a tail, it have a sting in the tail. Curriculum restoration to embed African civilization, enslavement, resistance, and Afro-Chambigonian achievements in the national school syllabus. Them is the same people. Come up with the same people. It may not be she directly. Who had an issue with the steel pan? Up to now, we can't see the steel pan on the coat of arms. But I want to help African people out. Or let's sit down there and take that and all let put them. Just to remove the 3 ships, which had such a negative and barbaric history to the first peoples of this country who was here before we call them the Arawaks and the Caribs. That we call them the first peoples and the ancestors. That 3 ships spelled genocide to them. And for that to be removed, Dr. Keith Christopher Rollins to remove it from the coat of arms for the steel pan, the national instrument. The UNC and the supporters give hell. Up to now, we can't see the stationery with the steel pan on the new logo. Up to now, we can't see the coat of arms with the steel pan on it yet. You want to tell we you come? I don't want no help from she. I don't know about all you. You see some of the African people, all they could take she help. I don't want it. I good. I could read and understand my history. I could. 3, trade linkage. To finalize the Ghana Air Services Agreement, launch a West Africa Caribbean Special Economic Zone and dual top SME on both Trinidad and Tobago and Lagos Stock Exchange. 4, youth and food industry. To kickstart phase 1 of the African Heritage Agricultural Center and explore avenues for microcredit, crop insurance, and export license for young farmers. Really? The Ministry of Youth Development and National Services started a homestead program. where 150 young people who first graduated from the program got 2 acres of land, start a home, $20,000. Then them UNC and them are just asking fight on that whole program. In fact, all them program them closed down. Dr. Raleigh come and they were planting yam and thing down in Tucker Valley, somewhere down there. And they had the words to say about Ghana yam and Africa yam and all that. You see, all of us forget. All of us forget. That's why come up as a sister could be saying the things she's saying, and people clapping about yeah, like if it's something new. Cultural vanguard through awards, lecture, film, school visit, heritage tours, and inspire young and strengthen. Look, I ain't reading no more. You see this mama guy here? In my opinion, this greatest bend over mama guy. Me are taking that. I ain't reading no more. Me ain't reading no more. What choppiness you telling me? Can we come down about 10-point plan for reparation, all that? Dr. Keith Christopher Raleigh had what do you think? What do you think? Let me read the thing. Let me read the thing. You want this a joke or what? If you listen a joke or what? There's no joke, you know. You want to take mama guy dress and that's all the business, you know. That's all the right. If you want to take that. So this doesn't the Guardian. 2024. The 26th and the 10th month, 2024. Dr. Raleigh talks national security reparations in Samoa. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Raleigh has discussed national security with Singapore and has been among CARICOM leaders pushing for reparation for slavery as he participates in the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting program in Apia, Samoa. A statement from the Office of the Prime Minister, OPM, yesterday stated that Dr. Raleigh met with Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong for bilateral talks focused on deepening partnership in training and capacity building. The leaders identify national security, digital transformation, and public service reform as sectors for cooperation. Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Senator the Honorable Dr. Amy Brown, and His Excellency Vishnu Dan Paul, High Commissioner for the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to the United Kingdom, accompanied the Prime Minister. The statement read. The Office of the Prime Minister also said that Dr. Raleigh participated in various events at Sugar, including an executive session at Parliament's House. He joined heads of the delegation representing over 50 nations from Africa, the Caribbean and America, Europe, Asia, and the Pacific at the formal opening. The theme for Chogam 2024 is One Resilient Common Future, Transforming Our Commonwealth, marking the first time the meeting is being held in a Pacific Island developing state, SID. Brown explained to Guardian Media yesterday that Prime Minister Raleigh is participating in the drive for reparations through discussions with Commonwealth leaders, while the United Kingdom has said through its Chancellor Rachel Reeves that it would not be paying reparation for its involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. Brown said he continues to work strategically with fellow foreign ministers to navigate the challenges. The Prime Minister has been doing the same at a higher level. With his ongoing discussions amongst the heads, it is a point of pride that Trinidad and Tobago is contributing robustly to this priority item on CARICOM's agenda. And we shall eventually prevail as our principles are clear and our case is just. Prime Minister Raleigh is respected as one of the key leaders on this and other matters within the Caribbean Commonwealth family, Brown said. On Thursday, the Foreign Affairs Minister addressed a meeting of Commonwealth Ministers of Foreign Affairs and reiterated his stance during the exchange with Guardian Media. Brown said those involved in the fight for reparation justice or reparatory justice must expect resistance from systems that have benefited and continue to benefit from the legacy of chattel slavery and colonial exploitation. The minister also responded to recent comments from the UK Prime Minister that reparations were not on their country's program agenda. Brown explained delegates To that, Brown reminded delegates that it was their Commonwealth emphasizing CARICOM's strong stance on reparation and asserting that there should be no room for imperial arrogance at the meeting. The status quo or the status quo also seeks to protect itself and ensure its continued existence. Members of CARICOM are clear-eyed on the importance of advocating the reparation agenda of all appropriate forums. And where's better than the Commonwealth system, which shares common ties and a history significantly derived from that same legacy. It makes a big difference when standing on the side of truth. I want to tell the Prime Minister, Trinidad and Tobago, with all due respect, stay out of that. Stay out of that, because me don't think the Caribbean respect you. That's my opinion. I don't think the Caribbean and Commonwealth respect you. That's my opinion. I don't think so. Don't go and interfere with things we don't start already. Dr. Raleigh don't start that talk long time. CARICOM had that talk with reparation. So you are coming out to say that you gain me something. I feel, in my opinion, this is for when Diwali comes and all kind of things give out. That's my opinion, eh? That they will turn and say, but look at things she did give all and all that. We don't want it. Take it back. No opinion. Take it back. I say so. You know what? Not talk for me. Me want it. Take it back. CARICOM go deal with this situation because it has been happening and going on all the time. I don't know what you... What are you doing that for? What do you want to vote you and see if I want to ask all that? But I want to say this story. The phrase "beware of those who come in your ancestral clothes" is not a universally recognized or common quote. However, it echoes a theme found in biblical quotes. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. That is Matthew 7:15. This biblical passage warns against deceptive individuals who appear harmless or familiar, like wearing clothes from one's culture, but harbor malicious intention. The phrase ancestral clothes likely refers to something deeply personal, familiar, or culturally significant, making the deception even more insidious. Sheep's clothing or ancestral clothes as a metaphor. This signifies something that appears harmless, familiar, or even comforting, masking a hidden danger or malicious intent. Some interpretations of the biblical passage suggest this refers to those who appear righteous or trustworthy. Ravenous, that is not a word. Alllyuh. Listen, not today. I know the word, pronouncing is our next story. RVNOUS, wolves, or the underlying threat. This represents the danger, deception, or harm that the individual or group poses. Some interpretation of the biblical passage suggests this refers to those who are deceitful and manipulative. The core message is to be cautious and discerning, especially when encountering individuals who seem to embody something familiar or trustworthy, but whose actions or words suggest otherwise. The phrase "beware of those who come in your ancestral clothes" highlights the idea of betrayal and deception within a context of deep cultural or personal connection. It emphasizes the importance of looking beyond appearances and critically evaluating the true nature of individuals and their actions, particularly when they seem to be aligned with their own values or heritage. I just want to tell you, beware of people who come in clothes. If you see them, emancipation, they couldn't stop taking off pity and shame. The Prime Minister in we clothes are the same woman who scorned we. Because when she scorned Camille Robinson Rages, she scorned me when she said she has she proud ancestral Indian name. But Camille, where you have your slave master name. So now you come and put on weak clothes, you should put on the slave master clothes. No, you should put on your proud ancestral clothes. Beware of people who come in ancestral clothing. All I could say are racist, that is all your business, because all I don't understand the term racist, always to be racial, always racism. Somebody don't understand it. What I talk in here is serious true talk. We have to learn to understand race relations in this country. As so that I hear a man who was talking morning on a radio station. He seemed to clearly have a problem with his identity. Like he don't know if he's Chinese coming or if he's African going. And it looked as though that individual, like as they're getting older, like it affecting them more as opinion are given. So I don't know, you never hear about, I don't know if this individual happy in his life. I don't know if it's because his ethnicity is kind of ambiguous. That's why I say I don't know if he's Chinese, like he don't know if he's Chinese coming or if he's African going. I don't know. But this individual never had nothing positive to say about people of African descent. So I wonder if he has some kind of trauma, ethnic trauma. I just asking a question. So let me continue. So the mayor of Port of Spain said at the Emancipation celebration, which is a continuation of the People's National Movement and the policy and things like removing the 3 Columbus ship from the coat of arms and replacing it with the national instrument of Trinidad and Tobago, the removal of those enslavers, and especially one dirty, dread liar, murderer, brutalizer, anything nasty you could think about, Christopher Columbus. Removing his statue from his face, put all them things in a museum. Now you go in the museum and watch them if you want to see Columbus. If you love Columbus, go there. Go there and watch him. We don't want him on the street. And I hear some people talking, well, then you have to get rid of this and you got to change. Well, if we have to, we have to. But we're taking it in doses. Move Columbus from there. Put him inside a museum right there. Move it. Because in India, not India, in Africa, a couple of years ago in them university was pulling down Gandhi's statue from all over them university because they said that Gandhi, when he was in South Africa, they say they consider him a racist. Meaning so I wasn't there with Gandhi and them, right? That's what they say is a racist. So his statue ain't up in some of them university and then they pull it down. So Columbus, 1498 World War, he just covered cover Trinidad and Tobago, and people that don't live in here, you can discover where people live in and come down here and mutilate it, kill the Gedi Indians and them, not the Indians from India, the indigenous people. Blanket lays with smallpox, they get them syphilis, all kind of thing. They used to use the children as target practice to shoot and sting them. They used to walk them to death with plenty of them run up on hill and jump off to save themselves from the brutality of Christopher Columbus and all them who come after. Yeah? That's all I want. We want to see them in we face. Move it. If not the first one to go, let go. We can look for the other one of them. Good work. Good work, PNM again, PNM initiatives. Continuing. Let me continue. Yeah, you. This one went to the, well, you know what? He didn't have on the ancestral clothes. But I want to know he looked like he's a mortician or a kobo. I don't know who he was covering this for. So this is what somebody wrote. This was in PNM Citadel Initiative. It does look all over to get me news. So it says here, this same man who wants, and it's Philip Alexander they're talking about, right? Minister. Now let's keep my promise. I promise to call him Cutters because I did tell him if my member of parliament, in fact, not if, when my member of parliament win the seat, I will call them Cutters. And my member of parliament win the seat, so I call them Cutters. So when I say Cutters, I'm referring to the minister of housing. That is just a thing I had before, right? I didn't know he was going to be no minister. I know he wasn't going to win the seat, but I didn't know that was going to put he as no minister. But anyway, minister, Cutters. So this is what somebody write about Cutters. Because he was down there in emancipation in a black suit looking like a mortician. I say, either a mortician or a kobo. One or two, because he was hovering there, everybody in African clothes, right? So you have to beware of that too. So this is what somebody said. This is the same man who once blamed the murder rate and the PNM supporters killing each other, compare Emancipation Day to a rape survival dinner because Black people dared to mark the day while the PNM was present. He claimed that life in Laventille and Silas is as bad as the Middle Passage. He said, let's not forget this toxic masterpiece. He once suggested building a wall around the BTM to lock residents in and then throw KFC over the wall for them to eat. This is the same BTM made up of working class Black families, citizens trying to survive in a country that keeps failing. And his idea of leadership was to cage them in and throw fast food over like scraps to animals. And now this man, never elected politically relevant for years, now handed a senator's seat like a prize for loyalty, wants to lecture the nation about insanity of slavery. Absolutely not. This is not good. This is an atonement. This is calculated opportunism. It's a cynical ploy to rebrand himself as some voice of conscience while using state power to call for press censorship and criminal charges against journalists who report stories he doesn't like. He calls the Guardian Sabga media, paints himself as a revolutionary, and yet he behaves like a Temu autocrat, trying to shut down media freedom and rewrite his own disgraceful record in the process. The real disgrace, though, is this. Kamala Prasad Bissessa and the UNC put this man in a position of national authority. They elevated a figure who for years has spewed vile, race-baited filth, now dressed in dashakin and platitude, hoping we have all developed political amnesia. But not today. Emancipation is not a stage. It is not a slogan. It is not a costume. It is a reckoning. And Philip Edward Alexander Cottas, in words and in records, stand on the wrong side of everything we represent. We will not forget. We will not be gaslit. We damn well won't be silent. Michael Edmund Danny. So it's not my writings. So these are the things that they would have put that Philip Alexander would have said, Cottas would have said over the time. So I think this was News Source asking, is this the same Philip Edward Alexander who's standing in the photo, the same person who made this comment about emancipation, Black community? And let me see if I could read some of the things that they say. Let me see. Philip Alexander. The PNM present at emancipation celebration is like inviting the rapist in the rape survival dinner. What PNM continues to do the grandchildren of Africa is no different to what Massa did to the children of Africa. Mova, Bitam, Laventille, and Silas are living testaments in the crack of the overseer whip and of the free colonizer legacy. I can't, the things are not so fine. Let me see the next one here. 300 murders so far this year, 12 less than last year. Would be even less if Dr. Rowley asks his party supporters to stop killing each other. Let me see something else. And that is the man. Let me see. Right. Mova, Bitam, Laventille, and Silas are living testament to the cracks of the overseer whip and the new colonial legacy. The abuse melted out to the generation of Black souls in this country by that party is as bad as anything the Middle Passage conjured. That is the man today who's a senator in the Senate and a minister, junior minister in the Ministry of Housing. Went to the emancipation celebration. I saw him in a black suit. Again, I say he looked like he's hovering like a kobo or Mortician 122. But he speaks about the abuses of the People's National Movement towards African people. But the People's National Movement never fire in one day 10,500 people, a large proportion of which are people of African descent coming from communities like Beaton, Silas, Laventon, Mova, Arima, all across the East-West corridor. PNM never do that. In fact, PNM has always initiated programs to help the disadvantaged. Some might say everybody didn't get, or they didn't know, whatever the case may be, but as always, school book grant, food in school, uniform grant, bursaries, education, gate, not no dollar for dollar, but gate and open wide, all the government policies that we have, health surcharge, free in hospital, you're getting old age pension at 65, even though you never worked before. All those things are in the government housing. Before the PNM, we didn't have no government housing. Government schools, free education for all. But today, some people bowling, it's better we didn't get free education and people have to pay because people take it for granted. But I just showing you everything they're enjoying in this country is the People's National Movement. All the hospitals that was built. People's National Movement, they're talking about suffering poor people. Look, the Port of Spain General Wing, it finished. Block C, it finished, even open it. That could house 500 patients. They will open it. Who more wicked African people, in my opinion, than UNC? And when Philip Alexander talk, Philip Alexander, you're not one of us. Don't try to put off yourself like you're some African person and a crusader for African people. You're not. You are 1%. The same 1% that we talking about is a 1%. If you want to pay, so here's a 1%. And you get the privilege of being a 1%. The same 1% you're already fighting now, you have the same privilege as the 1%. You don't have what we just go through. You could never have what we just go through. So don't play empathizing with you because it's not real. Let me continue. Be careful of those who wear the ancestral clothes, because not all of them coming in good faith. It have those who will come and stand with us, and because of where they stand in life and they understand humanity, and because they understand that we are born equal, we are equal, and that African people need equity in the society, and they stand with me to get it, I don't have a problem with them. You see the others and them? Beware. So I'm seeing now the State Department of America requires visa applicants to post bond of up to $15,000 to enter the US. Papa, you all let me see? Because I ain't reading no long thing now. Somebody send this to me, it says here. Excuse me. Washington, the State Department is proposing requiring applicants for business and tourist visas to post a bond up to $15,000 to enter the United States, a move that makes the process unaffordable for many. In a notice to be published in the Federal Register on Tuesday, the department said it would start a 12-month pilot program under which people from countries deemed to have high overstay rates and efficient internal document security control could be required to post a bond of $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 when they apply for a visa. The proposal comes as the Trump administration is tightening requirements for visa applicants. Last week, the State Department announced that many visa renewal applicants would have to submit to an additional in-person interview, something that was not required in the past. In addition, the department is proposing that applicants for the Visa Diversity Lottery Program have valid passports from their country of citizenship. Right? To say read more, I intend to read more. Let me just read this one quickly as I send condolences to the late Senator. Let me get it here. The late Senator Timal, who would have died recently. So from the We Talk D Ting family, I want to send condolences to Senator Timal's family on his passing. Senator Vieira, our independent senator, didn't mince words when he would have said this. And we would have heard at the time, Senator, what's her name? The little pretty girl now from UNC who born. What's she name? Anita. Would have said about bullying in the UNC, she would have talked about that. So here it is. Independent Senator Anthony Vera says online harassment and unfair attacks on the independent bench took a toll on the health of fellow independent senator and National Council of Indian Culture President Deerup Timal. who died at his St. Augustine home early yesterday morning. In a tribute, Vera described Timal as a model independent senator. His contributions were consistently substantive, well-reasoned, and entirely free from partisan posturing. He focused on sound governance, better laws, and a more just society, Vera said. Vera remarks drew a sharp rebuke from Public Utility Minister Barry Paradat, who accused him of politicizing Timal's death. Many of us have faced the challenges that comes with public life, public debate, and even trolling, Paradat said. When we swore to uphold the Constitution and the law, we signed up to fiercely defend the rights of citizens to express themselves. Senator Vera continues to masquerade under the cloak of independence and is attempting to use the person of Senator Timal to create discord. The debate over political pressure on the independent bench comes weeks after Senator President Wade Mark condemned the harassment of independent senators, warning in June that such actions undermine parliamentary democracy. His statement comes before the start of the debate on the Prime Minister's Pension Amendment Bill 2025. Known for his quiet strength and commanding presence, Timal, a civil and structural engineer, was appointed to the Senate in 2018. His contribution, recorded over 7 years in the Hansard, included his final speech in June, when he cautioned against provisions that could compromise constitutional values. Elected president of the NCIC in April 2023, Timal oversaw initiatives to revitalize Indo-Trinidadian heritage, promote interfaith dialogue, and modernize the organization while preserving its cultural roots. NCIC First Vice President Surojdio Manguru said Timal was a dedicated leader and a passionate advocate for cultural preservation and community development. Prime Minister Kamla Prasad called him a devoted patriot and cultural stalwart, and PNM political leader Pelpi Beckers remembered him as a gentle person who spoke with authority and strength. Senator Dr. Amy Brown and former independent Senator Paul Richard both described him as a true patriot whose cultural contributions were unmatched. So what did Senator Vera say wrong? When he spoke about the attacks, unfair attacks on the independent bench may have been too much for him. Because Senator Wade Mark would have had to warn them about the attacks that were given against the independent senator. We saw it all over newspapers. They were attacking independent senators. Text message, all kind of bacchanal. Look at what's being said here. So what is wrong with what Senator Vera said? If those things could be verified. I'm just asking a question. But again, Anita Haynes would have said that the UNC are bullies. They don't talk about bullying, but them is the bullies. She said so, me didn't say so. And we see that, so it's very sad. But you know what? Them does bully, but they can't take bullying. Or they like, okay. Wrong conversation. Again, condolences to the family. I want to play this and this kind of sum up something here. It's not me. This is not my work. It's somebody called Rebels or something like that.
So Wayne Sturge apparently said the following, and it took me this long to make this video because when I first saw it, I thought it was AI. Couldn't believe it. But he said this.
He's running away, armed with a gun. You can shoot him in the back. And explain yourself after. That's the reality.
Shoot the man in his back and then explain yourself. That's the reality. It is, you know. But it's whether or not these people here would think you're talking shit or not. Or whether the guy or the woman who's sitting here thinks you're talking shit or not. That is reality you have to consider.
You can, once you honestly believe that you are under attack or that an attack is about to take place or is imminent, as they say here, once you believe an attack is imminent, you can strike first.
That entire sentence exists in this gray area right here. That's not a place you really want to find yourself. You see that if you feel like that and if, I'm sure attorneys across the world holding their head like, what? What did he just say? What kind of lawyer is he again? Those are very dangerous comments to make by somebody in this position. And here's the thing, right? Before this, he was a criminal defense attorney. And after this, he's going to go back to being a criminal defense attorney. Bro is looking to secure future clients when this stint in politics is over. I just hope whoever out there takes straight up and does something that they regret when they go by him for legal advice, he give you a 10% off. Since was he recommended shit in the first place? You see this whole stand your ground bill? It's going to open up a can of worms that our violent society is not ready for. In other words, man go dead. And they go dead for simple things.
And that's what we are saying. I continue to speak out against the stand your ground laws. And I will always say, I am not making light of people who would have suffered based on crime, lost loved ones, based on crime themselves being victims of crime. I am never, ever, ever going to belittle that at all. How they feel, I know. Will never do that. I'm not in agreement with crime. I'm not in agreement with those type of things. But I'm saying we already have home invasion laws. Could we not strengthen that? Why do we have to bring a law where this gentleman who is a lawyer and a minister of justice in this country is telling you, shoot somebody in the back while they're getting out there? Because if you're back to you're getting out there, we always know if somebody back to into you and they go in, they no longer present a threat. This gentleman, this minister, this goodly honorable minister is saying shoot them in the back. Ask question later, and we will deal with that later. And I think that another party was talking something because I know people used to be putting on police uniform and things, so something to the effect that police come to you, however, you ensure, shoot and ask question later. And all them kind of talk, making it seem as though when you get the gun, just shoot people, don't worry yourself. Go to court and tell them and they go believe you. Not telling people it don't go wrong so. It don't go wrong so. You might perceive a threat, and when you go to court or the police come, them didn't see it as a threat. That is why Robert says a gray area, you know. Your perception and somebody else's perception is two different things, eh, Papa? Okay. All right. Again, we asked all the April 28th who all they want to answer the phone, or they say Kamala. All they talking about all they want stand your ground. Or they get Kamala and take 3 months, well, 3 months now, before 2 months, it really come good 10,500 people going home from CPEP. URP closing down. Agriculture work, reforestation workers gone. This workers gone, that closed down. And all the things that the plans and the policies and everything the PNM had in place is what the UNC using now. All right. Take all out all the thought and agree to stand your ground laws. And then this is a wild, wild west. You watch somebody, you're in your own zone, you watch somebody and they tell themselves, they feel that you watch them like you want to do them something. When you're in your own zone, you know, sometimes you're watching somebody, but you ain't really watching them, and you just in your own mind and your eyes just happen on the person. And you might look up and down. You know, they say, when you look up and down, it means like you're fitting to do something. You just do that. And the person ever gonna say it look like you want to do me something and pull the gun and say they felt threatened. Let me see all they walking out that. Let me see all they walking out that. Or they going in an area you lost, you asking for direction. When they come out, you got to ask. I hear a bullets and they say they felt threatened because they're looking big and black. Because you hear about that. Or your children going to drop something in some community around or something. If a neighbor, a friend, they may know and see a child. He looking like he from the Eastern Corridor urban youth. Come some lad in here and say they felt threatened. These things really? Okay. All right. Take care of the handling cost more. Okay. Oh shucks. Where do they? Oh, let me mom in the old farmer. I go on and just so take off the light. Oh Lord, look what I do here again now. Real bacchanal. Oh bacchanal. Give me a minute. I pull out the wrong thing. Oh shucks. Here what? I can just it to that over. Give me a minute. Right. The next one, I put it in the next zone instead. We're back on our payment and minute order. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, no all they doing, eh? All they don't make a big fupa April the 20th. No all they doing our people. So let me come to this now. I want all to listen to these two things. And then I will talk my talk.
And I also want to tell the TNTech workers who are unjustly treated, that this 10% is also for you. With the consolidation of the cost of living allowance, going back to the start of your negotiation period, PNM give you 000. Kamla Prasad Bisesa going to give you 10%, and the consolidation of Kola with Big Back Bay, we are going to be updated.
Right here, Jackass. My opinion, here this one.
To protect the interests and welfare of my members, I say to all state sector workers, a vote for the UNC is a vote that negotiations will start with no less than 10%.
Are you hear? Roger saying they're getting 10%. The next one say negotiations starting at not less than 10%. When Mrs. Kamala Prasad says the Prime Minister was going into the Parliament, they asked about the 10%. She said they had to look for money. She said have faith. She asked the reporter if he had money. When asked the Minister of Finance, he said, we just give you promise. Nothing reassuring, eh? Basically saying they may have no money neither. But them two tell only about 10%. So let me get to this now. Madam going and put out a notice that says here, the Public Services Association of Trinidad and Tobago notice to all PSA members, update on negotiations. Court of Appeal rules in favor of the PSA. Special tribunal had no power to make 10-year award. Members will recall that the PSA successfully challenged the special tribunal decision to impose a 10-year award for wage negotiations covering 2014 to 2023. The Chief Personnel Officer appealed the High Court ruling. The Court of Appeal delivered a judgment on the 30th of July 2025. We have won. It is clear that the trademark decision, the Court of Appeal upheld the High Court's ruling and corroborated the PSA position. Section 22(1) of the Civil Service Act speaks only to the binding effect of an award, not that in a statutory mandate or a special tribunal to convene dispute referred to it as. Here I read, no, because this is here what happened. Let me just break down this very quickly. The PSA had walked away from the negotiation table to the 4%. We all know that history. The 4% was for the period, 2-3-year period, 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 4%, it could have been distributed 002, 002. The PSA walked away from the table because at that time we had the president, Louis Baptiste, the backdoor president, nobody voted for. He was the president of PSA. They walk away from the table and start to protest all over. The Minister of Finance at the time, which is his right or her right to do, would have sent that to the industrial court as an unresolved dispute. Negotiation breakdown. Once it goes in the industrial court, it goes before the special tribunal. In the special tribunal, a 3-year period now becomes a 5-year period because the Court of Appeal, the special tribunal is at 5 years. And from the CPO, it's 3 years. Right? So a negotiating period not more than 5, not less than 3. So when they took our matter to the industrial court and they went to special tribunal, it now became 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. They were arguing the matters there. Bam! Leroy Batista and they went to get judicial review. Not about the 4% and the negotiation for the 4%. They went to get judicial review for a section of the Civil Service Act 22(1), which says, or to the effect, the special tribunal shall have the authority to make any award that comes before it a 5-year award for 5 years. I just only 5 years. I don't know what happened in the special tribunal. The special tribunal included 2 5-year periods. So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I understand all the special tribunal had in front of it was 1 5-year period. So 1 5-year period, and they operate like it had 2, in my opinion. So for 10 years, they was making an award. All the PSA did was take section 22(1), which states that the special tribunal has the authority to make an award for a 5-year period. And because the special tribunal made an award for a 10-year period, they took that section of the regulation to the court for a judge to interpret what it meant. And all the judge says, the special tribunal could only make an award for 5 years. How the hell that is a big victory? It already stated in section 22(1). It didn't say 10 years or 3 years. It says that the special tribunal, section 22(1) of the Civil Service Act, says the special tribunal has the authority to make an award for 5 years. I don't know how the special tribunal ended up making it for 10 years when I understand there's only 1 5-year period was in front of it. So tell me what victory is that for negotiation? The victory for the negotiation would have been to say the special tribunal, I mean that the Court of Appeal find that 4% is not enough and we should get this percent and that percent. But that is not what went before the special tribunal. Don't let Felicia Thomas and them bullshit all here. This just had to do with a section of a regulation that already spelled out in black and white. So why the waste PSA members' money to go there in appeal court? Why didn't take we matter out the special tribunal and go back in front of the CPO and start the negotiation there for the 3-year period, 14, 15, 16. That's what they have to do. But they know the full members and tell them they could get more than 4% for the period 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And they know because they have no evidence, no information, no data to show how the government could have paid more than that and have it as a recurring expenditure with a back pay. You hear this one talking about Roger talking about back pay. Guys, why they only have people on back pay, back pay, back pay, back pay. If they were settle our negotiation within the first 3 years of the negotiating period, money will be real time, real money, and not years and years after where you get a big back pay, because the back pay really ain't doing nothing because that money don't eat up. It's like you spend the money before, so when they get it back, they kind of replay, and that is it. They're getting nothing really. Because if you negotiate in 14, 15, 16, and that is settled till 3 years later, whatever back pay you get to that, it's not for the times that go on there, because inflation don't eat up that money already. Inflation don't eat up the next set of money already because next period done gone. So you're always on the back foot, and that is why unions just have people, I'm talking about PSA, have you on the back foot, not settling negotiations on time under Duke, because Duke was a politician. Duke didn't want to do nothing to the government to look at. He said for himself. He said he got a settlement for the Minister of Finance who was coming, but at the time, but he's not looking at it in like 2019. He go look at it in 2020. 2020, he come back and say, I know how to tell all of that and all last year, but I'm not looking at it. And we never know what was offered for the period 2014, 15, 16. Liberty was right there advising Duke. Felicia Thomas was right there. She was the General Secretary. And she became the first vice president under the Liberties, and then eventually now, whoever votes for she's president. Don't let she bullshit all here. PSA win nothing. That had nothing to do with negotiation. That had to do with a section of the Civil Service Act. Now all of a sudden, we ain't here and talk about the 10% again. She jump out and put this out there quick to make people mind feel that they win something. We ain't win nothing. We still can't get no 10% because let me tell you something. It was never 10% offered. It was the start of negotiation, meaning to say you have to go and sit down and negotiate. They never say you're getting 10%. Kamala Service never say public officers getting 10%. It's them start to talk that talk. And now and then the ball starting point. But it's really the starting point of negotiation. So if the starting point of negotiation going to be 10%, how do you ask like 10% you're getting? When you have to go and still want to negotiate. And I always keep saying that 10% is not realistic. Because if for 14, 15, 16, you start the negotiations at 10%, not less than 10%. And the way we negotiate is based on the retail price index methodology, meaning how inflation eat up our public officer salary for the month over 12 years and over the 3-year period. So for 1 year, let me say for 2014, inflation may have, for the year may have eat up your salary by 0.5%. 2015, inflation may have eat up your salary over the year for about 0.9%. And 2016, inflation may have gone up even more or gone down a little more. And based on that now, that will give you a baseline for the percentage for the 3 years, how much inflation eat up the public officer salary. That's why you hear them saying 15% they're looking for, or they're looking for this amount of percent on is to come back for that inflation where eat your salary. But if you get that money 5 years later, and for how that helping, that's not helping. So again, they're giving all that 6 for 9 and she's talking a pack of shit. I wish she could come and debate me, but she can't. All the things that I'm talking, you ever hear her say that I lie? You ever hear they ever say talking stupidness? The most of my ball on my mouth big, and I was thinking and get people to put on PSA jersey and go and cuss me on TikTok, and that's the most they could do. But they cannot dispute what I am saying. The government has indicated already they have no money. This government indicated they have no money. They come and they say they made the economy in a bad state. They stop the TTRA. They stop all tax collecting revenue. Where are we getting money from? To pay no negotiation starting at 10. So it means to say it could go to 11, it could go to 12, it could go to 30. And ask Felicia Thomas what years this starting point for 10% is from. Because she can't tell me it's for 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. No, because we don't negotiate in 10 years and 5 years in front of the CPO. It's 3 years at a time. So she had to go back to 14, 15, 16. How much percentage they're going to start the negotiation for there? Is it going to be 10% there? And when they started for 17, 18, 19, they're going to start back at 10% when inflation raised again. They had to start at a bigger level, so must be 11%. And then for 2021, 22, they can't start at 11, or if they start at 11 there, whatever, that to keep going up. So you think any government will ever commit themselves to starting a negotiation that percentage keep going up on the government side? Never. Never. So only understand the games this girl playing. This girl business cook, It is alleged she's not permanent in Wassa, It is alleged she's permanent now in Wassa in range 50 something or something is alleged, It is alleged she family members on the board of Wassa, It is alleged, Them cook, Liberties is now the Minister of Labor, Them don't care about public officers, So when only read this foolishness, just shoot and go and call them in PSA and ask them what's happening with the negotiation. Because they know very well that the government could never start negotiation at 10%. But they throw that out there and everybody just take away the starting point of negotiation and here we go get 10%. 10% for which years? Let me just say, right? The PNM government offered 4%. 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And I say the way it could go 002, 002. And they offered 5% for the period 2020, 21, 22, I think it is, right? 5%. You can put that 5%, 122, 211. It depends on how the inflation thing go, right? So that is from 2014 to 2023. That's not 10%. So if, let's say, the UNC offering 10%, for how much years offering that 10%? From what period offering the 10%? As I say again, it can't come in a grouping. It had to come in 3 years. But not only that, public officers still on 2013 salaries in 2025. Look how much negotiation period passed already, and we get a settlement. 2014, 15, 16, that is 1. 17, 18, 19, that is 2. 20, 21, 22, that is 3. 23, 24, 25, that is 4. Like 12 years. First time in history, public officers haven't got an increase in salaries. First time in history. And public officers just quiet, just so. Believing this ass, talking about 10%. And talking about they get victory in court. Huh? I'm really cool with that. But people will cost me. I've been telling only that years now. Better PSA take the 4% because they have no evidence, no data to show where the government could have paid more. The government came with information, evidence, and data. It had COVID-19, and they came through a recession in 2015 and COVID-19. If any union could have come with data to say that they lie and they had the money under the pillow, under the bed, under somebody's shoe, in a wardrobe, whatever, and because of that they could pay more, they could have come with the info. None of them didn't have the info. That is why eventually they settled most of them. And in my opinion is that they just went along and think so that the members don't feel they just give up. But them very well know they would have had to settle for these 4. But they don't want to seem as if they just cave in and have the members and them say, oh, they PNM and all that. So they went the long road, knowing very well it will come to that. So all them other unions and them, excepting PSA and NUGFW, settle for the 4% and they sign for the 5%. So all them have outstanding now is for the period 2024, 25, and 26. PSA, public officers gets nothing and only very quiet. And only like it so. So again, don't let people fool only with foolishness. That girl is dumb. It is alleged as called she's Sasha stupid, you know. She dumb bad, you know. She can't negotiate nothing for public officers, you know. Where see that next one in there, but he's saying he's a minister now. He can't get involved in that to help you with this and that. She on she own, you know. She don't know what to do, you know. She was afraid to face public officer because she was going around. I hear them in meetings going around telling people vote for the UNC because the UNC government said they're getting 10%. 1 minute they said 10%, then they said the starting point of negotiation 10%. But they're making sure they said 10% and then the starting point. So all you people here, 10%. And you don't hear the PNM because PNM give you 4%, so you hear 10%. And when they're thinking that and end up in this, you will get nothing. This government thing, wait till you go see the budget read. Anytime this government settle any negotiation for public officers at any starting point at 10%, they have to go to the IMF. Once they go to the IMF, public officers will lose their work. Or they come back and tell me, or let people cost me. But everything I've been saying, I make all my TikToks and things that I thought if you go on my TikTok page and you look at all the videos and then I make TikTok and I talk about the PSA, it has come true. But it is what it is. So again, I want to ask all you, what do you do that for? Eh? Or they even get an exchange when all they vote out PNM. Or they get short change when all they vote out the PNM, or they get short change with all they bring in now, because what they bring in now, everything the PNM was, all the policies, all the trade invest, everything they using it. Look, they're going back to Wando. It's not me say so. I'm just saying they're looking to finalize the Cabinet business, and they said they're not going to honor nothing but Owando's a corrupt company. This is so. Philip Alexander, when they read here, we going flights to go Africa, wherever. Say nobody want to go to Africa. When Dr. Rena was planting yam, they scorn that. They say yam thing. Now they're talking about agriculture with Africa and trade with Africa. Eh? And reparation. So we stay out of we business with reparation, Miss Kamala business. Stay out of that. CARICOM done doing what they had to do and all the bodies and thing and Dr. Ronnie so they here doing part and thing. Don't get in that at all. Don't get in that and something because in my opinion is a blind. That in my opinion is a blind. Stay out of we business, right? Much love, all respect, but it's a blind. Stay out of that. Stay out of that part. You see a reparation thing, stay out of that matter. Stay out of that, stay out of that, stay out of that. That nothing to do with you, stay out of that. So I saw somebody put up over the 3 months the accomplishment of the UNC. You all could say whether or not this is true or not. It's not my list. I didn't make the list. It said 1 fired 25,000 plus workers, 2 call a SOE, 3 167 murders in 3 months, 4 67 kidnappings, 5 call a SOE so the people cannot protest for their jobs, 6 use the Commissioner of Police to lie on destabilizing plot to set up Rajiali. 7, somebody to get some working whatsoever. This is not me put it. This is why I read it. I didn't write this. Me say it's true. This is what somebody put. I just asking only if this is true, right? I didn't put up this list. All I know is a fact. Out of that, workers fired, they call it SOE. And about the murders and kidnappings, I don't know if it's that amount. I know about that part. You see all the rest, me sure, me right? I just read it for you. So people, let me see all the people who are here today. Let me see all the people who are here today. So I want to say good evening to the people on YouTube. So Sandra, Athea, Julie, Wayne, Patty. Well, I know Tessa from Facebook, Julie from Facebook, Sandra from Facebook. Let me see who again it have. And then I go into my list. I make sure I make a list to see if I can remember all my people's names. Because not me now. Let me see who again. Let me see who again. Where's this? Where's this? Where's this man? Donald, I know that from. What's going on there? Emmeline. Annette. Stadina. Let me see who again. Hey, Patty. Let me see who again. All here. Watch me now. Hey. Right, let me see the next one. Let me see. Okay. Right. I'll write down some names I remember from Facebook. If all here, I want to thank all you love all and if all here, all still here, right? So it's Margaret, Davison Patterson, Yvette Curvan, Angela Rodriguez Lacroix, Ginger Pinder, Lorna Ortega Manette, Sarah Richard, Emmeline Harvey, Christopher Coffey, Erica Richardson, Keith Marshall, Charles Priest, Anne Shepard, Ophelia Boyce, Andrew Gordon, Alison Boyce, Helen Ross from Pleasantville, Roxanne King, Mel Cobb, Balti, Kadara, Ruth Finn, Dr. Lloyd Straker, Lucy Brown, Cheryl Steely, Alison Phillip, Germana Silisa, Francia Pancho, E.A. Shorty, Bernadine Andel J. Jocelyn, Augustus Cato, Victoria and Sawa, my whole people someday hope everything okay, darling, with the family. My friend from up in Yips, I meet you up in Yips. I ain't take name, Yips on Charlotte Street. Well, Banto, I see the McDonald Banto. Miriam, yes, darling. Let me see one again. Elsie, Alexander, Katya, Raymond, Felicity, and Joyce, Nurse, Margaret, Thomas, Angela, Sobers. I will look for more names. I want to thank all them for staying locked on, tuning in to We Talk D Ting. Remember to share the live on Facebook, and please subscribe to the channel, Bounce Up Central, and by extension, We Talk D Ting, and all the other programs that is on this channel. Please, people, let me spread the word, let's spread the love. At the end of the day, it's love, and we're talking truth to it. We're talking how much? 4,000 MTS jobs are not threat to no Miriam. What the hell I hear here, boy? I had to find out and talk. I had to find out about where's that one boy? I tell all you and I tell some all you boy. All you want to answer in that phone diplomatic center, you probably 29 boy. They take chain up, boy. We tell all you, Dominic, tell all you. So much other people tell all you, boy. The master, this one, that one, people calling in thing, people writing on Facebook. We tell all you, oh God, what are you doing that for, boy? What you went and do that for? All they so vexed that they, I know all they say, no, saying they should have put order. And Dominic tell all that now, member of parliament now, eh? He tell all that you can't take back your vote, you can't when it cast dice it. Look with some all how we boy. Oh yeah. We in this. Why I go tell all you? Why I go really tell all you? I go just keep talking the truth. Who want to hear, who don't want to hear, they wouldn't hear. Who like what I'm saying, who don't like what I'm saying, who like me and like me. It's not about me and nothing to do with me. You don't have to like me and all them things. The thing is this, we're in a situation now that you see this PSA thing, that girl Felicia Thomas is not a nice thing that she doing fooling workers, eh? Wassa and them get their thing fixed nice. I'm not vexed with that. Them from Wassa, they see what they Wassa people, I can't vex with them for that. But see the public service, she knows nothing about the public service group. I hear that people leaving, so I don't even know they have a full executive again. You doesn't know what's going on in PSA again. It ain't no meeting, it ain't nothing happening. And I'm just living easy and public officer in 2013 salary and just quiet and saying nothing. And living in some hope that we will get, or we're not getting anything. Let me be logical about it. The public service for educated brothers and sisters with their masters, did this, all kind of thing. Think about it. Which government is going to start any negotiation at 10%, especially in this economic time? And if they start at 10%, what period? And you know it has to be 14, 15, 16. And then 17, 18, 19. So how much it could be for 17, 18, 19? And if they settle anything 10% and more, will they get money to pay that? Because the next negotiating period, they can come back with 10% starting point. It has to be a higher percent. Will they get money? And that is recurring expenditure. That is not a one-off payment. That is every month increases in salary. Will they getting that money? To increase your salary from 2014 to 2025. Will they getting that money? Why don't then we take the 4% and we'll have we 5% and we'll just be waiting on to go back and find the CPA for the period 2024, 25, 26. What if we in this position for and this stupid ass girl talking about they win something in court? They win nothing. That has nothing to do with the 4% that there was in the special tribunal for. That's about judicial review simplified act section 22(1). If they come to me and pay me, I will tell them the same thing too, because if only in front the special tribunal is one period alone, it's only 5 years, it could be so any award they're given is only for 5 years alone. You don't have to go to court for the court to say that. Section 22(1) already say it. But because they didn't have a clue, in my opinion, to do nothing, they make workers feel as if they're fighting. And they're fighting for nothing. They fight for Wassa. Let me don't say they fight for nothing. Leroy Baptiste and Felicia Thomas and them fight for Wassa. They get what they want in Wassa. They fight not to have the TTRA, and that is it. And them good. Me have vexed with them, and I just say, what to the public officer? Nothing. So people, I love you. I'll see you all on Wednesday. Guys, when I comment something, trust something new. They say, girl Jen, sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. If you want to get formal as Miss Jennifer Frederick and Nari Edition, let me talk the thing. And only take in this before I end the whole thing now. Take it in, we got plenty of them. The name go call, and when the name call, and Peter say, hey, Let me play for the love all you see on and Wednesday God's Spirit.
Jano, Jano, begging the master, give me a walk with Peter. If some sinners coming, with them I do be dealing. Because the things that they do me, I want to fix them personally. Peter wait, Peter look Cecil Rhodes by the gate. Funny. Peter look the Englishman, we send Cecil Rhodes to Africa land. Funny. Peter take trade, take rally, but leave Victoria for me. Peter, I just don't care what you say, but Mussolini, he can't get away. Why? This is my time for running. I'm running. Blazing. This is your time for running. I'm running. Fire coming. That I undergo from these madman and woman, I feel the full weight of the hand. They need a oppress law, they never care about the poor. Peter, these people had a day, well now it's time for Stalin to play. Peter wait, I say Peter wait. Peter look Ian Smith by the gate. Funny. Peter, I don't want you to make fuss, remember I want Christopher Columbus. Funny. Peter look the English woman who on South Africa refused to put sanctions. Peter, I just don't care what you do, but Reagan going in the fire too. Why? This is my time for money. Blazing. This is your time for money. Burning. Take me now. To grudge me, your hand done full already. You don't deal with the Führer. Go ahead and take Foster. But that woman Mary, remember that's my baby. So much confusion that she make. You got to give Black Stalin a break. Peter wait, I say Peter wait. Peter look voter reach by the gate. Funny. With voter I don't want you to waste time. Remember we still have Morgan behind. Funny. Peter look the English woman who sent foreign troops in Africa land. Punching. Peter, I just don't care what you say. The Ku Klux Klan man can't get away. Why? This is my time for blazing. This is your time for money. I'm running. Hit me. Burn them boy. Come in. We burning. from overseas, but leave my low-key. During my lifetime, to me they were so unkind. So much corruption that they make. Now it is time they must feel the way. Peter, Peter, don't hold me back. Look, the one we drop the public order. Money, money. Peter, look, catch that big belly fella. We carry my money down Panama. Money.